Hello and welcome to HT's weekly talk show, The Interview, and our special segment, Life and Times with HT. The Grand Egyptian Museum is making news, and one person who cannot stop talking about it is Kamel Zayed Galal, Egypt's ambassador to India. That apart, he has fond memories growing up in Mumbai, battling the heat and dust, and finally returning to the country of his formative years as ambassador. He is a proud Egyptian, one who describes himself as an ancient Egyptian. He is also among those whose me time, so to speak, is his job and work. There is this and much more in our conversation with Kamel Galal in this edition of The Interview in our special segment, Life and Times with HT. Welcome to the show, Ambassador. I'm not going to say Your Excellency because this should be an informal, free-flowing conversation. And thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for coming.
Let me begin with what is making news and what you can't stop talking about, which is the Grand Egyptian Museum. What are the major takeaways and why should Indians be interested?
Yes, we are thrilled that we have inaugurated the Grand Egyptian Museum. All of the Egyptians have been dreaming of having ever since 1992. It's a very old project. It is going to, we're thrilled because it's going to be the largest museum in the whole world that is dedicated for a single civilization. It has almost 100,000 ancient Egyptian artifacts. It has the whole complete tomb of King Tutankhamun, this is his statue. It signifies something. It signifies Egyptian patience. Though that it has been discovered in 1922 by a small boy, his name is Hussein Abdul Rasul. We have kept it. We have kept the whole tomb protected. We have preserved it for 103 years until the right comes to showcase the tomb of Tutankhamun. And we found that this is the best place to show the whole tomb of Tutankhamun in the Grand Egyptian Museum. So it is going to be shown for the first time in history. What does it really represent? Egyptian artifacts, it's not about monuments, but it's the wisdom that is engraved in it. This museum is coming at a very crucial stage. It's a message. It's a message to humanity. It's not only a message to Egypt or the Egyptians. It's a message to humanity that there is a place for everybody on this earth, on this planet. There's a place for all of us. It's the message that Egypt has always, throughout the past 5,000 years, trying to extend. That tolerance, coexistence. We need to live together. We do not need to fight. That's why I'm saying that we're thrilled to have this museum at this time, because this is an era that was witnessing increasing geopolitical challenges, economic challenges, social challenges.
So how does this museum disseminate the message of peace, togetherness, oneness?
If you look into this time lapse of the world map, you will find the world map is continuously changing, very dynamic, with only one constant, with the same borders, the same people, and that is Egypt. Why is that? It is simply because we have always felt that strength is not in weapons, it's not in economy, it is in the resilience of people, in the wisdom and prudence.
So coming back to my original question of the major takeaways, what are the major takeaways and why should Indians be interested?
The museum is not just a museum, it's a whole educational and knowledge complex where we are using the top-notch, the highest technology in preservation of artifacts and restoration of artifacts. So I think this is another component that everybody needs to know. It's a whole library for history. It's a knowledge hub for those who are keen in indulging more into Egyptian history or human history in general. The highest point is the tomb of Tutankhamun. This is the thing that people really need to go and see because it is the first time shown in history.
Any other takeaways? If I were to visit the museum, what would you advise me? Except, of course, saying see everything. But if I'm short of time and if I were to see it and visit it, what would your advice be?
Don't miss living Egypt. You need to live Egypt. You need to get in touch with the Egyptian people. And as Indians, you will understand what I mean because we have the same value, the same family. For Indians, this is the main takeaway. You will discover the amount of similarities that we have between each other.
You're speaking about the bond, and I take your point, but you would also agree somewhere that bond between India and Egypt got disturbed, and there was a lull.
Yeah, let me tell you, how did it all start? Our relationship. Because when I go to universities here and I get in touch with students, I always ask them this question: when do you think our relation started? And most of the people, or the students, would tell me that it was during the 20th century. Well, this is partially true, but not totally true, because our relations, according to some literature, it started around 4,700 years ago. There was a king in Egypt, his name was Sahur, who had the first trading with the Indus Valley area, which is now India. And then after that, we started finding traces of Indian fabrics and Indian spices in the mummification process. So actually, you are part of the mummies that we have in Egypt. So this is how far back our relation goes. And then in the 20th century, we had, during the era of Mahatma Gandhi and Saad Zaghloul Basha in Egypt, both of them, both leaders, Egyptian and Indian leaders, had the dream of liberation and from colonialization. So they worked shoulder to shoulder. They exchanged ideas. And even Mahatma Gandhi visited Egypt a couple of times. And then at a later stage, we almost got our independence together. You got it in 1947. We got it in 1952. We had two leaders at that time, Prime Minister Nehru, and we had President Gamal Abdel Nasser. Both of them had a vision for their countries and not to be part of any alliances and so on. And they formed together, among with others, the non-aligned movement. And we had differences, but we were more focused on our regional and domestic affairs. In the 90s, you here in India, you started the economic reform in 1991. And then there was the various developments in South Asia that you were focused on. And the same thing happened for us. We also started our economic reform in the 90s. And there was so many developments in the Middle East region at that time. So we were more focused on that development. And then this is the reason for the lull. Then afterwards came 2014. And this is the major launching pad.
We will come to that a little later. But let me first tread personal ground and let me take you down memory lane. For someone who knew India, and I'm underlining the word knew, take me through your initial memories. You told me you had Bombay, which is now Mumbai, etched deeply.
I tend to differ with many who, when I speak to many Indians, my friends here now, they told me, you used to live in India. And I tend to differ with them. And I tell them, no, I never lived in India, ever. I lived India. And this is a big difference. Living in a country or living a country. I studied here. I came here when I was 10 years old. So almost my first memory as an adult is in India. I went to temples. I went to just walking through the streets of India, touching the real culture of India, tasting the real culture of India, because you have a very deep culture and very diverse culture as well. So this is why I'm telling you, I lived India. Maybe a lot of foreigners would come to India and they would live for so many years and go away. And that those whom we call they lived in India, but going through the streets, sitting on the streets, being falling when you're playing cricket, falling and trying to make a catch and falling on the ground, getting your hand with all the dust of India. This is what I call living India, and this is what I did here in India.
You also studied here.
Yes, I went to school.
Tell me about that.
Magnificent time. I went to a school. The name was this was G.D. Somani Memorial School. It is in Mumbai. It's in Kaf Parade. I went for 4 years. I went there when I was 10 years, and I left when I was 14. And I have great memories of the school, of the teachers, of the friends that I have. And I even got in touch with a couple of them when I came here as ambassador. We call each other every now and then. After over 40 years of being apart.
Did you go back to school and did you go back to the classroom? And I don't know if that desk is still there where you sat and wrote your exam.
I wish I would go to the classroom, but I was not able to get into the classroom. But what I was able to do is to take my wife and friends to where I used to live. And we had the whole walk from the house that I used to live until the school. So it's as if you are walking into your memories. We're having the same smell throughout the road, the smell of chutney and even the same shops. It did not change. So I was really thrilled to be part of this experience.
So what has changed? Bombay has become Mumbai, and of course the country has changed and evolved. So now looking back to the time you were a student to now coming back as an ambassador, what has changed? What has changed for the better? What has changed, if I may use the term, for the worse?
This is a very deep and difficult question, Kumkum. For a country like India, and the same applies for a country like Egypt, change is not easy. What I saw in India from 1983 until 1987, the people that I saw, they are the same. You cannot change easily. Nobody can change your DNA, no matter what happens. It's a civilizational old DNA. You cannot change it. In this sense, India did not change at all. The Indians that I love are the Indians that I came to find so many years later. What has changed is your economic development. You are much more well-rounded. You have become an important player in South Asia. You have become an important player in the international economy. You are the fourth largest economy in the world, and on your path to being the third largest. This is something that is really you should be proud of. So this is the real change that I saw here in India. But the crux of the Indian people, you have not changed and you will not change. Take my word for that.
What are the negatives?
Again, a difficult questions because I cannot tell you any negatives. Even the negatives is part of your charm. You know, sometimes if you look at a picture, you'll see so many colors into it, and maybe colors that you don't like. But if you get away from the picture and you look at the whole photograph, you'll see as a beauty. So actually, part of your negatives is part of your charm. So I cannot tell you about it because I don't see it. Maybe it's in the day-to-day life, but actually this is part of your personality and it is part of the Indian charm. This is what makes you different.
Perfect answer from a diplomat. It could not have been any different. Let me try and put this a little differently. Tell me about your impressions of India as a student and as a diplomat.
You have a very strong education system, and I think that it have affected me a lot throughout my life. The way I studied here in India, the difference as becoming a diplomat, here you have in India, coming as a diplomat here to India, you have a very strong diplomatic school. You are one of the best diplomatic schools in the world. And I would say that Egypt is also one of the best diplomatic schools in the world. So, and that is why we always, as diplomats in international fora and international organizations, the Egyptian and Indian diplomats are always very close to each other.
You said you have and I'm quoting you, natural affection for India. Why is it? Is it because you studied here, or what does this go back to? Does it go back to something else?
There are two parts to answer to your question, two parallel answers. Partly yes, because I studied here, because I was raised here. Part of me is very close to India, and there's another part that I would attribute to all Egyptians and all Indians. We are two great ancient civilizations. The bond that links us is much more than anybody really thinks. We have almost the same principles, the same family values that combines us. There's a natural bond between Egyptians and Indians.
I will quote you yet again. Egypt, you said, is a constant. Everything has changed, but not Egypt. One, I want you to decode that for me. And second, don't you think in today's world, which is evolving every minute, do you see this as a plus and do you see this as a positive?
Listen, Kumkum, if you take a time lapse of the map of the world for the past 5,000 years, you will see nations being established and then going away. You will see empires, very strong empires, coming to get in control of the many parts of the world and then dissolving into history. So history is very dynamic. And if you look at the map, this time lapse, you will see that there is only one constant part of the world in the middle of the world. It's called Egypt. Why is that? Is it because we have the strongest army in the world throughout history? Is it because we have the strongest economy in the world throughout history? Is it because we have the strongest political system in the world? It's not that.
What is it?
Strength is wisdom. This is the thing. That is why Egypt has always been a constant. Things change, things evolve. But Egypt is the only constant spot in the map of the world. Is it a strong point? Yes, it's a strong point. This is our strength. It's a virtue that we have, and we will cherish and we will protect.
You also said that your foreign policy are the 4 Ps.
Yes.
Would you decode that for me?
Referring to your previous question, why did Egypt be a constant? It is because of the 4 Ps. The 4 Ps are simply the benchmarks of the Egyptian foreign policy for the past 5,000 years, not only in contemporary era. So the 4 Ps are simply peace, prudence, partnership, and principles. And I will decode each and every one of those. Peace. You know that the first peace treaty ever in history was established by King Ramses II in almost 1259 BCE. This has been part of our DNA for thousands of years. People might differ, but at the end of the day, you will have to live together. There is no need for wars and so on and so forth. So this is one of the main principles that has developed our identity as Egyptians.
I'm interrupting you before you come to the other 3 Ps, but when you say living in peace, sounds very good on paper, something which every country would perhaps want to emulate. But on ground, and today, if you look at the current scenario, it's not so.
Well, I beg to differ again, because the existence of Egypt in itself is a proof. It is through peace that Egypt has been able to endure so many geopolitical challenges throughout the past 5,000 years. So it is doable. It is possible.
Yes, but in the present context, what you see happening around the world, this yardstick does not seem to apply, unfortunately.
That is why I tell you, empires change, states change. But the only principle that makes them endure, resilient, is through peace. Unfortunately, this is not the mood in the international geopolitical landscape. And that is why geopolitics throughout the past 5,000 years has been volatile and constantly changing. And the only constant will be those who preserve and be adamant on peace.
I interrupted you on the other 3 Ps, so
the other P is principles. Egypt had certain principles throughout history and now coded into international law and international humanitarian law of coexistence, mutual respect. Egypt has always been a very diverse nation, and we have dealt with so many other cultures, civilizations, and we have become more understanding of the importance of tolerance and differences and respect of differences. This is one of the main principles that the Egyptian foreign policy has been developed around. We say what is right and what is wrong, even to our friends and our allies, and even to our foes. So being principled does not mean that we do not follow our interests. We are not transactional. When you see something wrong, we say that this is wrong.
The third and the fourth now.
Yeah, no, the third and the fourth. It is prudence. And the fourth is partnership. All of the P's are all interlinked, and each one leads to the other. Prudence is about being prudent in any decision you take. You don't rush into a decision. You don't rush into assessments. That is why Egypt has always been very calibrated, very focused in its position towards any international challenge. We tend to be very wise in rushing into any assessments. And the fourth P, which emanates from the other three P's, which is partnership. We always work for partnership with other countries, with other nations.
Fast forward, coming to 2014, there has been a dramatic change in the bilateral relationship between India and Egypt. So if you take me through that, and then of course, again, I will quote you where you said both leaders in India and Egypt are over ambitious.
Yes. In 2014, there has been a dramatic shift in our relationship. You had elections here in India, and we had elections in Egypt where two leaders came. We had President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in Egypt, and you had Prime Minister Narendra Modi in India. Both came to nations that had tremendous challenges, economic challenges, security challenges, political challenges, and yet they were so ambitious, and they had a vision to the world that they share, that is based on collaboration. So they had this vision, and they started to work on it. Many people thought that it is not attainable. It is very difficult to work on all parallel tracks. Well, they did it, and they succeeded in achieving that. And this culminated into a relationship that is so close between our two nations and two leaders, and culminated in June 2023 when we signed the Strategic Partnership Agreement. We have a very few strategic partnership agreements with nations in the world, and India is one of them. So this shows how close we are and the potential that we really need to exploit and explore together in order to make this world a better place, not only for Egyptians and Indians, but for all global South and for all citizens of the world.
What about the growing influence of China, which from India's point of view is creating a competitive diplomatic environment?
Listen, Kumkum, I wouldn't like to look into this as competition. Again, I will take you back to the 4 P's, which is prudence and partnership. It is always important to look into other nations from this perspective. And I'm sure India has this wisdom. You cannot be falling into this trap of trying to look into other nations as competitors. There is a place for all Indians. There's a place for Egyptians. There's a place for Chinese. There's a place for everybody on this planet. Let's work together, and we are working together as part of the BRICS, as Egypt, China, and India. We are working together, collaborating together to create a genuine partnership. This is the name of the game.
But would you disagree that there is a growing influence of China on Egypt?
On Egypt? Yes, I would disagree on that, because I don't see any influence by any nation on Egypt. Again, I will recall what I said earlier. Empires change, countries change. The only constant in Egypt is Egypt. Egypt has never fallen under the control of anybody, and will not simply be under the control of anybody. So this is a very straightforward answer. We have collaboration with China that we cherish, and we really respect it, and we really look forward even to expand it. We have collaboration with India that we look forward to expand. We have collaboration with many other interlocutors that we look forward to expand even further.
Even if I rephrase this question and ask you differently, I know the answer will be the same. So I'll move on to terrorism, which is a common concern in both countries, as also religious extremism. How much of this is a roadblock to security cooperation between India and Egypt?
This is part of the components of the architecture that we have for our collaboration. Terrorism is not only a matter of concern for Egypt and for India. It's for the whole world. religious extremism is a concern for the whole world. And this is part of the challenges that we have. And here, let's be very careful in naming this religious terrorism, because extremism or terrorism is terrorism. Killing a civilian, it does not matter if he's a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian. Somebody killing a civilian, this is not acceptable. Let us agree on that. Whatever you call it, however you try to name it, even however the terrorists try to frame it, let us not fall into this trap. There are those who are trying to frame religion with a certain narrative, extremist narrative, that is so far away from the real principles of religions. All the religions. I'm not referring to any religion in particular. Again, let us all be focused on the principle of not accepting any civilian being harmed by anybody, whether it is what you call it state terrorism, or you call it militia terrorism, whatever. This is what we share together with India, and we need to further enhance our collaboration.
Coming back to personal ground, and I'm treading yet again. You describe yourself as an ancient Egyptian. Will you decode this for me? A modern man, a diplomat, and yet saying I'm an ancient Egyptian.
I will say that I'm a humble, ancient Egyptian. And okay. I'm a humble and proud ancient Egyptian. Because what forms my identity? What forms my identity is our ancient Egyptian heritage. And I speak the language of Arabic, which is a very important another culture. In Egypt, we have so many religions of Islam and Christianity, which is another two great cultures and heritage. This forms my identity. This is who I am. And that makes me so proud, and makes all Egyptians being proud of who they are. Our DNA is so diverse, and it's been developed around tolerance and acceptance throughout history. So this is what makes me so proud of being an Egyptian.
Okay. Let me ask you what your wife mostly grumbles about, that he has no me time. And if there is any me time, it is the mobile phone. While you say that my me time is my job and my work.
Actually, both of them are the same. Because when my wife brags about me holding my mobile and being on the phone, it is actually my job. Yes, I'm very passionate about my job. I'm very passionate about two things. My life has always evolved around my family and my work. My family is the closest thing to my heart, and my work is my passion. So the past 52 years have been evolving around these two components, almost 50-50%.
Is it really 50-50? Tell me the truth, because I don't think your wife agrees.
I will leave that to my wife. Let her answer you to this question. No, but seriously, my family is the most thing and the most important thing to me in my whole life. I'm a good family man. By saying that, I'm saying I'm also passionate about my work, because what is my work? What is it evolving around? It is evolving around my country. And my country is my family, my greater family. So I'm really passionate about my smaller family and my bigger family, which is part of my work as a diplomat.
Again, the expected answer from a diplomat, and I'm again not going to rephrase. But let me ask you, before I wrap up, what are the lessons learned and unlearned in life? And what have been those moments where you said, oh my God, never again?
I refer to an Egyptian wisdom, which I really believe in. There is nothing that happens in life, the good and the bad, the challenges and the happy moments, except there is a reason for it. Maybe when you are in it at this moment, at this dark moment or difficult moment, you would say never again. But maybe so many years later, you would understand that there was a reason for it and you learned something from it. So what I've learned is that I should look into everything that happens to me, positive and negative, to draw lessons from. From the difficult moments, sad moments, I should not be only sad. I should try to find the good side, the experience, the positive takeaways from that. And even during the happy times, I should not be overwhelmed by happiness. I should be wise enough to look into the experience or the wisdom that I can draw throughout my life from that. And this is part of what I've achieved, of what I've discovered in my life until now.
So, from this philosophy, which you have just told me, my next question would perhaps be irrelevant, but I would still ask, which is, are there any instances or any moments in life which you would want erased?
There are so many, yes. But if I erase them, I would not be Kamel Galal who's sitting in front of you right now.
Okay, as expected. I was not getting a straight answer, but nevertheless, Your Excellency, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming here to the House of Egypt. I hope I was not a heavy guest on them and through your cameras.
No, you were not. It was, in fact, an interesting conversation, and let me thank you yet again.
Thank you so much.